Welcome to the Inspiration Cafe. We're speaking to and listening to Janee Pelletier, Vice President, Conference and Logistic Consultants Incorporated.
Thanks very much for having me.
Well, you're welcome, Janee. It's good to have you here.
Thanks.
Just to kind of get the conversation rolling, because you come at the industry from a slightly different angle, which is as a third-party consultant.
Yes,
But
that's true.
why? What interested you in that perspective?
Well, like a lot of folks in the DC area, I'm from DC, I started out doing government meetings as a meeting contractor. I did about 5 years worth of high volume meetings for NIH. And so when I went to work in the association world, it was, although I like association meetings, it was not quite fast paced enough for me because I was used to doing 30 or 40 meetings a year based on government contracts. And so I moved into the consulting side, which actually is really rewarding because I get to see a wide variety of meetings across all different types of clients. We have some clients that are, small associations that run on a shoestring. We have other clients that are in the technology space and have bigger budgets. And so it really lets me sort of see what's going on in the industry, but also I get to see what's happening and works well for one client that I might be able to change or adapt for another client. So it's kind of rewarding, actually, as a meeting planner to be able to see.
Able to migrate ideas.
Exactly.
And if, because I don't know the business as well as you do, that's for sure. As a meeting planner, am I seeing you as a threat, or are you helping an organization that doesn't have a meeting planner?
There are some meeting planners that see us as a threat, and I think that's unfortunate because for a lot of our clients, we actually partner with an in-house meeting planner to supplement their resources. One of the things that's a challenge about associations is a lot of them just have one meeting per year. And so you don't necessarily need to have a full-time staff for just that one meeting. And a lot of associations can't afford to keep a whole staff employed year-round. And so for a lot of associations, they might have one or two meetings people, and those people are doing the work of 10 people for 3 months of the year, and then the other months of the year, there's not as much to do. And so for a lot of our clients, what we do is we partner with the director of meetings or one or two meeting folks in-house to sort of supplement their team when they need it.
And one of the things that's interesting, because one of the things we've talked a lot about over the recent past is the need for planners to think strategically. Now, when you come into an organization for whom you don't work, are you operating more strategically or are you operating executionally? In other words, you're just doing logistics, you don't get involved in content or objective, or are you doing both?
We do them both. I mean, most of the time when an organization gets me, it's because they want somebody who's thinking strategically. We certainly do provide a full host of services, a lot of them tactical, registration management, abstracts management, exhibits, trade shows, those kind of things. But what I think that I can provide, and some of our senior level people can also provide, is sort of that broad perspective of we've seen things that have worked really well in other places, we've seen things that have failed terribly in other places, and we can sort of help steer you in a direction that's going to benefit the organization.
I just was noticing you have something called the Meet Smart app.
We do.
Tell us about it.
Sure. Our company, about 2 years ago, we launched a product called Meet Smart Mobile, and it's a web-based mobile conference guide, sort of like having your conference program on your mobile phone. And our story on how we got into that business is kind of unique because we are a meeting planning firm. For 25 years, our company has planned 2,500 meetings for all sorts of clients, shapes and sizes. And so because we're a consulting firm, about 2 years ago, our clients started asking us, we get all sorts of questions. What do you know about this? What do you know about that? And our clients started asking us, hey, what's this mobile app? What does it mean for us? And so we went out and did a survey of what was available, and there were a lot of really great native applications for smartphones, either priced way out of the reach for most associations or developed by people who'd never really been on site to a meeting. That meetings are a very unique environment, and you need to have access to information at different ways, at different times throughout the process. And so we took a look at what was out there, and we didn't really find anything that we felt we could recommend to our clients. And so we hired a couple of programmers to put together this web-based conference guide solution for our clients. And then people started to get a look at it and say, hey, could we buy that from you? And so it was a very interesting path for us because it wasn't something that we set out to provide as sort of a standalone service. And it's been really rewarding to be part of that development process because I'm always amazed by, every organization is different and all of our clients find different and creative ways to be able to use things. And so it's been interesting to see how different clients have found ways to make money or ways to cut down on their print costs through the use of Meet Smart Mobile.
And you came to it in a different way. You didn't set out to make money, but you did.
Yeah, exactly.
And again, because you have such a fascinating perspective of all the players, what would be, I'm not trying not to put you on the spot here, what would be a suggestion you would make to AV providers? What's the one thing you'd say to them to improve their lot in life? What can they do?
Well, I think AV providers, it's a very interesting business because it's not something most meeting planners know a lot about. I'll be honest that I rely on my AV partner to provide me with new ideas, with innovative things for my show, with ways that I can save money. And I think that that's a way that AV providers can stand out from the pack in terms of being really upfront in terms of, I can provide you, sort of like what my company does, we provide consulting expertise. I think providing that sort of consulting up front as part of the process would be really valuable to meeting planners. I don't know what resolution projector to get. I don't know what's the new trend in stage design. So I really want to rely on my provider to speak up and say, hey, I have these great ideas, what do you think of them? And I think by doing that, the AV provider becomes a partner rather than just a supplier.
But how do I do that? I think I take your point. With this RFP process where I can't even give you that advice until I've cleared and been selected, or you're suggesting I should give you that kind of counsel before?
Well, I think it's more about how a company presents its brand. AV providers, audiovisual is an interesting market because it's a very mature market. There are a lot of providers that are providing very similar services. And so I think for a company to be able to stand out, it's perhaps a little different branding. This Inspiration Cafe that PSAV does is very innovative. It's a place that I can come as a client. You haven't had to go through a big RFP process with me. I just, came in to see what was new and innovative. And I think that's a really great way to say, hey, we provide this basic service, but look at all these other really cool things we can provide for you.
Great.
And I think in terms of marketing, newsletters and letting planners know these are some great things we've done with other shows. It's not necessarily in the RFP process. I think it's more about how a company presents themselves
ongoing
in the market. Right.
So let's take the same question again. You see all these people, all the players. What about hoteliers? Any thoughts, advice, concerns, suggestions?
That's fun. That's a little more challenging. I think, hotels hotel brands are all very different in terms of what they provide and their overall look and feel. And a lot of it depends on the city you're in. For example, here in Orlando, there are 2 hotels that are attached to the convention center, and if you're here, you're probably going to use one of them. I think hotels, what they can think about is the value add, like we talked about earlier, in terms of not just the professional side, but also the personal side. When an attendee comes to your meeting, they're giving, every minute they spend with you is a time they spend away from their family. And so being able to provide not only a comfortable bed and places to plug in your electronics and all of that for the hotel, perhaps if you bring your family with you, to also be able to provide opportunities for them to do things while you're at the meeting. And I think, blending that personal and professional to me is something that I as a planner would respond to, because I want my attendees to have a great experience. And if they choose to bring their family, I want to know there's stuff for their family to do while they're back at the hotel.
Last question. You've seen planners from all perspectives. What changes have you observed among planners themselves in terms of their qualifications or their style or their interest? Is the craft evolving?
Oh, I think absolutely. I'll be honest that when I started out in the meeting planning field, there really wasn't a career called meeting planning. For a long time, I think my parents thought I was a travel agent. And so It's really, meeting planning as a profession has really evolved, and meeting planners and the industry as a whole is really becoming more aware of, the business of meeting planning, both in terms of the financial impact that a successful or an unsuccessful meeting has on an organization, but also thinking strategically about the design of a meeting. There's sort of an emerging field within the meetings profession called meeting architecture, and it's the study of really deliberately planning all of the elements of your event so that they're meaningful to your attendee. And that, to me, is the sign of an industry that's really maturing. We're no longer just getting together to have a cocktail and get our continuing
party,
education credits, right? People, meeting planners are really thinking strategically about the way that they shape their meeting and how that impacts the attendee experience. And the other part is that financially, meetings are a huge business. And so as the industry is starting to mature and that impact is being realized, what you're seeing is the planners that are starting to rise to the top are ones who really have a good financial sense and can make strategic decisions that also are good for the organization.
Focus on ROI in a broader sense. Janee,
Exactly.
thank you so
Sure,
much.
Sure, my
Great
pleasure.
talking to you. We've
Thank
learned
you
a
very
lot
much.
as always.
Oh, great. Thank you.
We've been speaking with Janee Pelletier, Vice President, Conference and Logistic Consultants Incorporated. Please return to the Inspiration Cafe and where you'll learn more.